for the 5-minute time frame. I've loaded the EA, and if you check up here on this comment, you'll see that when we're in a candle, it's a candle, and then it changes to a spike when we change into a spike. Let me just fast forward a bit. So like there was a spike, there was a candle. Yeah, so we're identifying this in real time, and this works for virtually all time frames. In my previous video, I had only covered for the M1, but this will be a comprehensive guide for any time frame. So let's get into it. Before we get into it, I need to cover the difference between a spike in a boom and a spike in a crash. So when we investigate the boom candlesticks, a spike has its open less than its close, while the candle has the open greater than the close. When we move to the crash, we have the opposite. For spikes, the open is greater than the close, and for candles, the open is less than the close. To get started, we need to launch the IDE on your MT5. You can use whichever you want, Deriv. Any broker can work at this point. Just come up here and click on IDE or click on F4 on your keyboard. So once you click on this, an IDE will launch, and come to new, then click on next, then just give a name. So I'm going to create a new folder called YouTube, and then in there, crash, boom, spike, EA. That's what I'm going to call mine. Then click on next, leave everything to default, next, and then finish. We'll start with some pseudocode. I'm just going to create comment blocks. You can do that using / asterisk and then close it using the asterisk / like that. So our pseudocode needs to do a few things. Number one, we need to be able to identify if the EA is loaded on boom or crash. This is because this EA can be used on both boom and crash at the same time without the need to separate out the logic. That's the first thing we need to identify. So for this, I'll initialize a variable. For this, we'll have a variable called boom or crash. Boom or crash, which will be an empty string for a start. And then the next thing that we need to identify is, are we currently in a candle or are we currently in a spike? Spike or candle. So for this, we'll have a global variable that I'll just call is candle or spike, which will also be an empty string for a start. Yeah. So with that, in boom, so the pseudocode for the boom, like we mentioned earlier, is if the open of the current candle is less than the close, the current candle, this variable that stores is candle spike will be equal to spike. And if the opposite, else if the open is greater than the close, this variable will have candle like that. So for crash, it's pretty much the opposite. So I'm just going to copy this here, that, and invert this and this. So this is what we're basically trying to implement. And with that, we can now get started. So our global variables, our global variables, we have 2 of them. I'm just going to copy them up here. So the first one is boom or crash, which is a string. Boom or crash is an empty string for a start. The other one is candle or spike, which is also a string, and it's an empty string for a start. So the onInit function, this is what runs the very first time when the EA is loaded to a chart, and this runs once. So the first thing we need to identify is, is the EA attached to a boom or a crash chart? And to do that, we'll do that on the init function, because you just need this to be able to run just once. So to accomplish this, we'll initialize another variable that's a string that I'm gonna name symbol name, which takes the symbol. So this is an inbuilt this is inbuilt, and this gives the name of the current chart. So if you attach this to boom 1000 or attach this to crash 1000, the symbol name will be equivalent to this. So what we need is to figure out if we attach this to boom 1000, boom 500, and boom 300, and the opposite for crash. They all contain the word boom. So we need to find a way to take this whole string and look whether the substring boom is contained in this. So luckily MQL5 has an inbuilt function for that. So I'm just going to do an if statement here. String find is the method we are looking for. String find, which takes into arguments the string that you want to check for a substring, and then now the substring that you're actually checking for. Sorry, boom, like that. So this string find method, if it finds the word boom in the symbol name, for example in crash 1000, it's going to return boom. If you pass in boom 1000 but you're looking for crash, it's going to return -1. So in any case, we only get -1 if we do not find the actual substring we're looking for. So in this case, once we do the symbol name and then you're looking for a boom, and this means not equal to -1, that means the symbol name has the word boom in it. So with this, we'll change boom or crash is equals to boom. Boom, like that. Then the opposite, else if string find again, string find. So string find the symbol name and crash is not equal to -1. That means we have crash in it. So take boom crash. Oh, didn't copy. So take boom crash equals to crash. That. Okay, so you can click on compile to make sure you do not have any syntax errors. You can also click on style up here to make your work more organized. So now we have already done the first part of this pseudocode, that we can now identify whether we're in a boom or a crash. So the next step is identifying whether we're currently forming a spike or a candle, and it's different for both boom and crash. So we'll do that on the onTick function. All the magic happens on this function, the onTick functions. This is usually called upon whenever a new price is received by the EA. And in this function, we'll be looking at two main inbuilt functions, the iClose and the iOpen. So for the iOpen and the iClose, they have a similar structure as you can see here. And the most important parameter for this is the shift parameter, which represents the iClose value relative to the current bar. The current bar is the 0th, the one before it is 1, and so on and so forth. Here, we want to initialize two variables, which will be doubles. So the first one I'll call the close for current candle equals to iClose. So you're supposed to pass in the current symbol if you pass the symbol like we covered earlier, it's going to take on the symbol that's attached to the EA, the period current. If you attach the EA to the M1, it's going to replace the period current with M1 like that. And then the 0th one, which is the bar that's currently forming. And then the double open for current candle is equals to I open, same thing, symbol, period current, and the 0th one. So with this, so we said for boom and crash it's different. So we want to check if we are in the boom or crash. If we're in the boom, this is equals to boom. If the current EA is attached to the boom, we can go back up here. If you're in the boom, we want to do this. In a crash, we want to do the opposite. So if the boom, I can just copy this here, paste. If this is crash, we'll run everything that's pertaining the crash here. Okay, so if the boom or crash, if we're in a boom, if you can refer up here. So for the boom, the open is less than the close. So the open for current candle is less than the close for current candle. Oh, sorry, I was supposed to do this as an if statement. If statement, if the open is less than the current candle, we want to change the value of is candle or spike to spike. Here, yeah, is equals to spike. Else, so here else you can do is candle spike is equals to candle. Don't forget to close. Can style this a bit. That. So the opposite is true for the crash in here, like that. And that's pretty much it. So if we want to display this on the chart, like I was doing in the backtest, you can use the comment. So here I can say the current chart is, close that, then add boom or crash. So this will, oh sorry, boom or crash, this will replace with the current value of the boom or crash is that, and the current, sorry, and the current bar is then replace this with is candle or spike. That, and then you close that. You can compile to check whether you have any errors. Okay, this is good. So for you to backtest this, well, at this point, just come up here and click on history. This will open the strategy tester down here. So what you need to do is, with this selected, make sure you change here to either a boom or a crash, whichever you want to test. We can do crash 1000, can do M5, do M5 here. And then for you to have a visual, you have to check this box for the visual mode and you click on open. So you can see up here it's candle, then once the spike happens, it does switch. Yeah, let me just fast forward it a bit. Yeah, so it does work as expected. We just close that. So going back to the code. Why are you red? No idea why you're red. Don't have errors. Okay. So that's pretty much it. But now you might want to use the previous value, like the previous value of this candle. So you want, when a new bar forms, you want to check the previous bar, whether that was a candle or a spike. So you need to have a way to check whether a new bar has been formed on the chart. So to do this, I'm going to initialize a variable up here, which is an integer. I'm just going to call it start bars 0. And then when we initialize the bot, the EA, we want to calculate the bars that are on the chart. Like for example, the bars on the chart mean from here 0, 1, 2, like as far back as you can go, how many are they currently. That means whenever a new bar forms, that number will be +1. So we set it at 0, but once we initialize the EA, we want to now get the value. So you use the ibars function. Sorry, ibars. Yeah, the ibars function also takes the symbol and the current period. So this will populate the start bars. Then once you get that, so you want to also, okay, let me just comment this out, this initial strategy, not strategy but logic. And then so when the on tick starts, we want to get the current value of the new bars. So just gonna initialize another variable, then do the ibars again, symbol and period current, close that. So to identify a new bar has been formed is when the new bars is greater than the start bars. So when it's greater than that, that means we have a new bar. And now in here, we're going to do something a little bit different. Instead of using the shift 0 like we were using up here, we're going to be using the shift 1, because going back to here, we want to check the previous candle. Like if you're at this point and this bar starts to form, you want to be able to identify that the previous bar was a spike. That's what we mean. So we need to do the shift for both the I close and the I open to 1. Basically, we're just taking this whole code here, putting it here, but now with a shift of 1. You can change this to close for last candle if you want. You just do that. It's going to be, the code will be more readable when you come back to it after a while. So let me change all the close here, and open, copy, open. Yeah, compile, no issues, dial a bit. Yeah, so I've changed the shift here for both the I close and the I open to 1. So now we can test this out by clicking on history. So we launch our tester. We can still use the 1000, then click on visual, then start. So you can see at this point, let me just slow it down a bit. Candle, don't know whether we'll catch one. Let me try and speed it up a bit. Oh yeah, that's a good one. So you see at this specific point, currently forming a candle, but the previous one is a spike. That's why we have spike up here.